Want to know the most underrated form of self-care? Sleep. I am all about prioritizing sleep as a part of my self-care. And since we spend a third of our lives in bed sleeping, I love luxury bedding. Cozy Earth is my go-to brand when it comes to all things bedding, and I especially love their best-selling bamboo sheets. They're temperature regulating and incredibly soft. They're the first sheets I've used where I can feel a noticeable difference every time I get into bed. Cozy Earth provided an exclusive offer specifically for my listeners, so you can enjoy 35% off your entire online order when you use code MindsetMile. Enjoy! Welcome to the Mindset Mile podcast, the show that'll leave you empowered to take action towards becoming the turned up version of your already awesome self. I'm your host, Aisha Zaza. And I'm so glad you're here. Let's go. Hey fam, happy Monday. Welcome back to another episode of the Mindset Mile podcast. I hope you had an amazing weekend. It is finally feeling like spring here in Santa Barbara, which we're not used to the weather being so drab and wet in Southern California. So I know I'm a little spoiled, but I am so happy. The serotonin is flowing and we are ready for spring and we're ready for summer. Speaking of which, if you need a new crew to spend your summer with and to do things with, then I want to talk to you today about how to expand your network and make friends as an adult. If you were to talk to my mom about how I was as a kid, she would tell you that I was a friend magnet. I've always been what you'd consider a social butterfly. And one of the stories she always tells when she references my personality from a very young age, basically as soon as I can walk and use just a few words, is that I was probably about 3.5, maybe 4 years old when we took a trip to Norway to visit my uncle. And on the plane, I asked my mom and dad if I could get up and walk the aisles, where I would return promptly with another friend I found. And I asked my mom if my new friend could sit and color with me. So leave it to me as a 3.5-year-old to make a friend instantly in such a confined space and on a plane. And even younger than that, when I was about 2.5, some of the older kids in my neighborhood who were 4 and 5 years old would come to our house and ask if I could play. And my mom says that she was always shocked to know that they were interested in playing with me since I was just a toddler and I was so much younger than they were. So you can imagine how these social skills translated into my adolescent years. I was the person that was always involved in things in sports, in academia, in groups, and in student body. And I had never-ending plans with friends. And maybe a part of that is because I grew up as the only child in my household. I kind of have this Brady Bunch family situation where I have much older siblings that are 18 and 20 years older than I am from my mom's first marriage. And then when my parents divorced after having me, my dad got remarried and I have 3 younger siblings from my dad and my stepmom. But I was the only one who grew up in my house. So I longed for connection with others outside. Or maybe it's just an innate part of my personality. So as an adult, I value my friendships a great amount, as I'm sure we all do. Even with as busy and chaotic as life is, I feel like it is a natural strength of mine to keep in touch with my lifelong friends and show up for them in big ways when life allows, and in small ways by just sending that text that's so easy to not send because you put it off for later and later and later and you never send it. And just letting them know I'm thinking about them. So as much as I wish I were closer in proximity to any or all of my best friends, sadly, I am hours away from the closest ones to states away from others. And I think that's very common, right? As people are very transient these days and move all over the place. We are disconnected from our communities that were once our safe havens. So I've had to build friend groups and find communities from relocating to several new cities in my life. From when I lived in Sacramento, where I finished school, to moving to Tahoe and then moving to Santa Barbara with my husband at the end of 2016. In each place, I knew not one person. And I can confidently say that some of my best friends in my life have come from each of those places where I spent anywhere between 3 to 5.5 years. And I'm not going to lie, I remember feeling a little daunted by our move to Santa Barbara because we had a great community in Tahoe and we had just gotten married. I was about to turn 30 and I worked remotely from home. So even as confident as I was at making friends, I did question what it would look like at that phase of life to meet people when the majority of how I spent my time was kind of isolated. And I'm not single. I'm not like going out looking to mingle or anything. So it just is a little bit challenging as you get older. So the first thing that I want to preface is I know how intimidating some of this might sound to an introverted person, but I believe with the right mindset, you can meet people without having to be or feel like someone you're not. This isn't about being fake friendly or acting like an extrovert just to attract people. You can be authentically you, but you do have to believe this before anything, that meeting people has a domino effect. And one new connection can open an entirely new network of people. It can be really discouraging when you think about how you're going to meet a whole new group of people or rebuild your community when you don't see who the players are or where they're going to come from. But I promise, if you are open-minded about this, you can be put in touch with all the right people. With that, the first piece of advice I have for you is to be interested and not interesting. I think a lot of times when we meet people, we want to, we want to say everything about ourselves to see if this is like a good match. But there's a couple things I mean by be interested instead of being interesting. Being genuinely interested in people attracts people to ask about you. It invites organic conversation, and it is just generally the most natural way to connect with people. So if you like someone's shoes, tell them. If you love their highlights or their haircut, ask them who they get it done by. If there's something about them that's interesting, let them know. How seldom and how nice is it when you get complimented by a total stranger when you're out in public? It always takes me aback. I love the boldness of complimenting or speaking with someone that you don't know. And whenever it does happen, it always makes me wonder why people don't interact like this more often. And I am always like, I need to be better about giving more compliments because it literally costs nothing, but it has such a high reward. Compliments feel good to receive, but have you noticed that they feel really good to give? How many times have you held back a compliment you wanted to give someone because you didn't know them? Like, where in the rule books does it say you have to know someone personally to compliment them? Of course, depending on the setting you're in, this is such an easy way to start a conversation. Not in a creepy way, but be interested in if they live in the area and what they do. These are opportunities to connect with them on another level if it's something you have in common. And a really excellent place to do this, which will probably come as no surprise to you if you know me at all, is the gym, which I guess you could consider my second piece of advice. Join a gym to meet people. This episode is sponsored by Betterhelp. If there's one thing I've learned about myself, it's that when I start to get stressed, I tend to future trip. My default setting is to start compounding all of my problems and think about how they are going to affect things in the future that have not happened yet, which is why I've used therapy in my past to learn some tools to not live in this headspace. Therapy is all about deepening your self-awareness and understanding, because sometimes we don't know what we want or why we react a certain way to things until we talk through them. If you've been thinking about using therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Get matched with a therapist and switch at any time. Discover your potential with Betterhelp. Visit betterhelp.com/mindsetmile today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mindsetmile. Did you know that stretching can help people with chronic pain issues they never thought would go away? Like pain in their lower back or feet where plantar fasciitis can happen? The problem is that stretching requires more time than just a few seconds or minutes, and ropes or bands won't pull your toes down and back the way a stretch therapist does for a more effective stretch up the entire leg. I've found the solution, and let me tell you, it's a game changer. I've been using the Flexx. It's a patented device that allows you to hold a grip-weighted aluminum bar with your foot in a specifically designed foot hammock that pulls your toes into complete dorsiflexion, which allows your entire leg and glutes to get stretched at the exact same time. It feels amazing. This device is like WD-40 for your achy bones and tight muscles, let me tell you. It has sold out 7 times since launching in 2021, and they don't do sales, but I got us a code for our community. So take advantage and get yourself one by going to castleflex.com. That's Castle, like CASTLE, and Flex with 2 X's, FLEXX, castleflex.com, and use code MILE10 for 10% off. Your body will thank you. There's nothing I love more than spending time outdoors, whether that's taking my kids on a walk, getting outside for a good trail run, or just sitting in my backyard or at a local coffee shop to get some work done. But one thing I can't tolerate is the sun glaring in my eyes. Since I'm always on the go, I love having my Goodr sunnies everywhere from my purse to my gym bag to my center console in the car. So I always have stylish sunnies. They're 100% polarized and only $25. They're lightweight and comfortable, and I love that they don't budge when you wear them. From exercise to running errands to beach sunsets, I love my Goodrs. If you want to support the show and pick up a pair, Goodr is giving Mindset Mile listeners free shipping on your first order. You can go to goodr.com/mindsetmile. That's GOODR.com/mindsetmile and use code mindsetmile at checkout for free shipping. And I also posted the link in the show notes. Goodr offers 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Find your pair at goodr.com/mindsetmile and use code mindsetmile for free shipping. I've belonged to a CrossFit gym wherever I've lived for the better part of 12 years now. And I swear some of my favorite people and people who I end up spending the most time with is my community through CrossFit. Everyone is always doing stuff outside the gym. It's such an easy way to get integrated in different groups of people, and it's so much fun. But this can be true at any type of studio or class setting. For one, the people there probably share a lot of similar interests as you if they are into health and fitness. So just a really brief story and example here is I took a 3-year hiatus from CrossFit like several years ago, over probably 5 or 6 years ago now. And when I moved to Santa Barbara, it was a little bit slower for me to meet friends. And I had joined 2 fitness studios, and I was there for over or almost a year at the time. And I still felt like I wasn't really finding a ton of people because the class settings were just a little bit different. They were back to back. People were in and out. It was a little bit quicker than some of the classes that I was used to at CrossFit. And so in any case, one of my friends had invited me to come check out the CrossFit in Santa Barbara. And I instantly fell back in love with it. It just has such a great feel, like upon stepping into the gym. But shortly after joining the gym, I met a group of girls that had gotten together once a week and they ran in the mornings before work. So they had this little run club and we were stretching after class one afternoon and they invited me to join them. To keep a long story short, This particular run club that I joined, and it wasn't an official run club. It was just the same group of girls that had a group text. And, if you could join that week, then you would. And we would pick a meetup spot and we would determine the time and we would all run between, 4 to 6 miles together. And not only was it amazing to meet new friends, I was being pushed out of my comfort zone because at the time I wasn't running 4 to 6 miles by myself. Like, this is when I was just getting into running and I was surrounded by people that were pushing me further. And I love that feeling. But also, these girls are still some of my great friends here in Santa Barbara. And years later, we all had babies around the same time. And now our kids get together for play dates. And it all started at the gym. It all started by stretching after class and talking about what we were doing the next week. So the next piece of advice for you I have is that the answer is always no until you ask. This is one of my favorite pieces of advice in general, because when I think about the things I've done in my life or the people I've met in my life, simply because of having the courage to ask simple questions like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Or asking a question about how to start a podcast, for example. My mind is blown when I think of the paths and opportunities that have been created because I wasn't afraid to just, I guess, what some people consider look a little silly. I think we feel silly wanting to insert ourselves in different scenarios or groups because we don't want to seem like, I don't know, that we're on the outside or that we don't know, or you guys, we need to get over this. We need to just get over and start asking the questions to what you want the answer for. I know it can feel so awkward to just ask or invite someone to get together, but I can promise you that 99% of the time, the awkwardness we feel is only from ourselves. It's never awkward for the other person. So if you could just get the words out, you'd be surprised how often people are to connect or play as a connector. And this is what I meant earlier when I said that it's not always about who you meet, but who you're going to meet through them. So also to tie in this story of Run Club and how I met one of my best friends now in Santa Barbara, one of the gals in the Run Club, we became really close. I would say she was like my best friend in Santa Barbara. She and her husband ended up moving maybe a year and a half after we met across the country to Florida. She was such a good friend of mine. She is my friend that I trained for and ran my first full marathon with. We were just such good friends over such a short period of time. But anyways, as she was leaving, she was telling me that I needed to meet one of her good friends who she used to be in a run club with. Everything is about Run Club, I swear. But, and when I met our friend now, one of my best friends in Santa Barbara, China Jones, once we had met, I was so happy that my friend Angie had introduced us because it was literally like swapping in one great friend for the one that was moving away and across country that I was so sad about because we had so many things in common. We became moms around the same time. We are entrepreneurial spirited. We just had a lot in common. And had I not met Angie, I would have not met my friend China and the whole group of friends that I now met through China. So this is what I meant when I said earlier that it's not about the one person you meet, it's who you are going to meet through them. The doors will keep opening and it is a domino effect. So if you're like, okay, all of this sounds really great, but how do I actually get in front of these people, these connector people that I can either become good friends with or meet other friends and their network through them? A few great places to start are local Facebook groups. Look up lifestyle-specific groups in your area, like a local mom page. Moms know about all of the local things happening, so there's going to be a ton of great ways to get in touch just through that virtual group. You can join classes or groups that interest you. So my good friend, Jenny, the nutritionist who I interviewed with a few months back, we had an amazing episode and chat about macros and health and all this. So you might be familiar with that episode, but Jenny currently lives in Bali, and it's amazing to watch her life because she moves around every 3 to 6 months. She and her partner get up and move. They have virtual businesses that they can work from anywhere. And I'm so amazed and proud of how she is always meeting new people wherever she moves in the world, because she just goes and does the things that interest her, whether that's taking surf lessons or singing classes, or how she and I met is at an adult gymnastics class in San Diego that I went to with one of my friends. So when you are just genuinely doing the things that interest you, you don't even need to be good at them. You will meet like-minded people there. And another easy suggestion is to just go on Facebook and search for upcoming events that are local to you. I promise you, it's pretty easy once you start opening your mind to the idea of meeting new people. I know this is kind of a unique topic that I haven't really touched on before on the show, but I am a big believer in having strong communities you can plug into. So I really hope that this episode helped you and that it reaches the people who are wanting to expand their network, be it because they want new friends or they need to meet new people professionally. I mean, meeting people and having community is everything. It is the lifeblood of what we do socially. It is the lifeblood of what a lot of us do professionally. So it is always a good idea to be confident in your ability to meet new people. So if this episode did speak to you, please tag me on social media. I want to see where you're doing your Mindset Mile. I want to see your beautiful face. I want to see which episodes are speaking to you. And of course, it's an amazing way to get other people to find these episodes so that it serves them big as well. Thank you so much for joining me. I can't wait to see you next week. And until then, make it a great day.